All right, today we're going to dive into the 63rd gene key. And this one is fascinating because it's a bit of a paradox and it really challenges the way we're used to thinking. It's all about this incredible journey from a feeling we all know so well, doubt, all the way to the profound realization of truth.
Okay, so right off the bat, let's get into the central puzzle here. This gene key is called after completion, but it comes right before the 64th gene key, which is called before completion. So how does after come before before? I mean, if you're a logical person, your brain is probably starting to itch a little bit, right? And that's exactly the point. It's showing us from the get-go that life isn't always linear. You can't just pack it into a neat little logical box.
And that really brings us to the core of it all. This whole journey is, well, it's pretty uncomfortable for our logical minds. Our minds are problem-solving machines, right? They want to find the answers, connect the dots, put everything in a perfect sequence. But this gene key is trying to teach us something huge. Life isn't a problem to be solved. It's a mystery that we're meant to live through. So, that constant urge to figure everything out, that brings us to the very first stage of this path, the shadow of doubt. This is where that relentless need for logical answers comes from. It's the engine behind so much of our mental chatter. That drive to organize, explain, and just find some kind of certainty in a world that, let's be honest, often doesn't give us any. Now the cool thing is, the path through this gene key is laid out so clearly for us. We all start in the shadow of doubt. It's a place we all know. From there, we move into the gift of inquiry, and that's where the real transformation happens. And finally, that leads us to the city, or the divine realization of truth. So you see, it's a clear journey from a really common human problem to a truly profound way of being.
But here's the twist. What's really interesting here is that the core dilemma isn't really doubt. The problem, the thing at the heart of the conflict, is logic itself. Now, don't get me wrong, the logical mind is an absolutely incredible tool. It can see patterns and numbers and concepts like nothing else. But it's also the source of the problem. It's the part of us that creates the division in the first place.
And you can see that divide perfectly right here, in our own brains. You've got the left brain, that's the logical, detail-oriented part. It loves to take things apart and analyze them. And when it's operating from the shadow, it's super suspicious of its partner, the right brain. The right brain is totally different. It's intuitive. It sees the big picture. It synthesizes. It unifies. It doesn't analyze a beautiful sunset. It just receives its wordless beauty. The problem starts when the logical left brain is running the whole show, just constantly pushing information out instead of letting the wisdom of the whole picture come in. And when that imbalance happens, it shows up as two really destructive forms of doubt. First, it turns inward and becomes self-doubt. And this isn't just a mental thing. It actually disempowers you on a chemical level. It floods you with hormones that lead to just complete exhaustion. Then it turns outward. It gets projected onto the world as suspicion and cynicism. That's the mind basically trying to feel more secure by tearing everything else down. So that's the trap. It sounds pretty grim, doesn't it? But how do we get out of it? Well, that leads us to the second stage of the journey, and it's a beautiful solution, the gift of inquiry. This is how we start to bring our minds back into balance.
So what is inquiry? Well, it's not about frantically finding the right answers. It's about the process of questioning with a totally open mind. It's a massive shift. You go from being a victim of your own relentless thinking to using that powerful energy of logic for something greater, curiosity. You're not trying to solve the mystery anymore. You're just enjoying unraveling it.
And this is such a crucial difference to understand. You have the cynic, who often pretends to be a skeptic, but the cynic's mind is slammed shut. They've already decided they know the answer. They're not open at all. They're just projecting their own self-doubt everywhere. Then you have the true skeptic, and this is totally different. A true skeptic's mind is wide open. In fact, they're so open, they're even skeptical of their own skepticism. How cool is that? They live inside the question, embracing the mystery instead of trying to crush it with a final answer. And this is where it gets really magical. Inquiry brings back that mind of a child, that sense of wonder, of play. You can use your amazing logical mind to explore and create and figure things out, but your right brain, that holistic side of you, knows that any answer you come up with is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. And when that happens, logic is finally set free. It gets to fly because it's no longer obsessed with the heavy burden of having to be right all the time.
So after we master this art of inquiry, this dance with the mystery, we don't just land on another clever answer. We arrive at something far, far more profound. we reach the final stage of this incredible journey, the realization of truth.
And here we are, full circle, right back at that crazy paradox from the beginning. Truth is realized after completion. It only shows up when we're finished with the mind's logical work, when the mind finally sees its own limits and just lets go. Truth isn't the trophy you win at the end of a long logical argument, it's the quiet space that opens up after the argument is over.
You know, this ancient piece of wisdom from the Tao Te Ching just says it all. The greatest teachings often tell you right from the start that they can't be captured. The words are just fingers pointing at the moon. The second you think you've got it, the second you can name it, define it, and stick it in a neat system, it's not the ultimate truth anymore.
So let's be absolutely crystal clear on this. Logic has no direct relationship to truth. They're not even in the same dimension. Think of it this way. Logic is like a map. It's an incredible map, super useful for getting around. But truth is the actual territory. You can study the map for 100 years, but you will never know what it feels like to walk on that land. You can't think your way to truth. It's a state of consciousness you have to embody, you have to inhabit.
Okay, so that's some pretty deep stuff. What does all of this actually mean for you and me living our day-to-day lives? Let's bring this powerful idea back down to earth and see how we can actually integrate this wisdom.
So here are the key takeaways. First, truth is something to be embodied, not a fact to be proven. It's a shift from the head to the heart. Next, it's about making our incredible logical minds the servant to a greater, more holistic wisdom, not the other way around. Let the map serve the journey. And when you do that, it leads to this deep sense of trust, this feeling that everything is okay, that all is to be allowed, because it's all part of the mystery. And finally, the most powerful takeaway of all, your life, right now, this very moment, it's already a stream of truth. You don't have to go searching for it. You're already in it.
And that brings us to one final question I want to leave you with. Remember, this isn't about ditching your mind. It's about giving it a higher purpose. So take a moment and just consider, what is one mystery in your life, big or small, that you're willing to just live inside of instead of needing to solve it? Because that right there, that's where the journey truly begins.